Hi there, today we are diving into the heart of your medical school application, showcasing your traits and values. We know that the numbers matter, absolutely, but what will really set you apart is how will you showcase your key personal traits like intellectual curiosity, empathy, cultural awareness, community engagement, right? Even if you feel like your experiences are set, you can't really change anything. I'm here to show you how you can kind of reflect on them, the kind of missteps to avoid, to really elevate with thoughtful writing what you've already done. What you've already done a lot of times is enough. It's just really bringing that to the page and making that kind of feel alive. Stick around. Let's make sure your values and traits come across loud and clear in your personal statement and activity section. Meet Lauren. Working on her personal statement and activity section was an act of trust and relationship building. I know how busy you all are, but together you have, with me, accountability and someone that will push your writing until it is ready, guiding you along the way, not just telling you this is awkward, but really building with you, right? So that we really kind of like navigate that brainstorming and get you as deep as possible within reflection to really elevate the content, really maximize your chances. Here's the thing, admissions committees aren't just looking for people who can be doctors. They're looking for people who should be doctors. And there's a difference there sometimes, right? And sometimes you've done years and years and years of preparation, but you fall short on the page and they're not getting the full sense of who you are beyond the resume, beyond the stats. Today we'll cover kind of the values to highlight, how to reflect that in your experiences, and when to get creative in both your personal statement and activity section. Let's get into it. If you want to learn how I work with students, grab your spot on our Calendly link in the description below. The application is there and we can figure out if you're a good fit. All right, so first off, a huge mistake is when students are focusing too much on what they did and not enough on kind of meaningful reflection. So it's just kind of like task building or listing responsibilities, but not enough about what makes you stand out and what makes you you in that moment. One student wrote, "I volunteered at a free clinic where I took patient vitals and recorded medical histories." Okay, awesome. But this doesn't really tell me anything about why this was important, about how it shaped you as a student, as a thinker, as someone who wants to care for others and serve others, right? You need to take that extra step to really reflect and share what you learned from the experience. And you do that with specificity. So here's kind of an improved version. Volunteering at a free clinic taught me to be present for patients who felt overwhelmed by the medical system. I realized that taking patient vitals wasn't just about gathering data. It was about building trust and ensuring patients felt heard in a setting where they often felt powerless or scared. Then you can kind of go into a specific patient encounter, what you did, or a couple of patients in like 2 or 3 sentences, and it really shows you in action. And it moved from to what you did, how you did it, and what your kind of value kind of based work, really made a difference for someone else. So we're now seeing students kind of like, in this little blurb, we see empathy, we see how the student connected with patients, and it really kind of will show the human side of medicine. Another one that I think is very important is to show that intellectual curiosity. I've talked about this in many videos, but this is a huge one this is a big one for med schools because they want to know you're a lifelong learner, right? But students are very quick to say I'm a lifelong learner, but they don't really show that. You want to kind of just show beyond ticking off boxes and completing classes, right? That you're genuinely excited about learning and problem solving. So here's an example. If you've been involved in research, don't just describe the experiments you worked on. Show the admissions committee why you found it fascinating or how it sparked your curiosity or what you understood from like the lab or something you learned, and then you applied it to volunteer in XYZ. So I had a student kind of working in a lab, and they said something like, "Researching heart disease ignited my curiosity about the genetic factors that contribute to cardiovascular health. I spent hours outside of the lab reading journal articles to better understand the mechanisms behind gene therapy. This experiment cemented my desire to be at the forefront of medical advancements that blend cutting-edge science with patient care." Then they went into volunteering at a food bank and talking about food, diet, and exercise and kind of cardiovascular health. And so, go beyond what you did and really show kind of not only the intellectual curiosity you have, but also how you've applied it to other aspects of your experiences. So how do you link it to something in medicine or in your community today? It's a clinical space, it's a patient that you talk to. It could be, like I said, in a food bank. That's what one of the students did. And so you in that moment is where you offer that personal connection. Empathy is another trait that is crucial for my future doctors, right? But the mistake I often see is students are saying that they're empathetic without showing their stories. So you don't want to just say, I'm empathetic. You want to instead reflect on moments where you did show empathy, moments of you in action. Think about a time when you went beyond the role to connect with someone on a deeper level, right? On a human level. So here's the before. I shadowed a doctor and observed how he treated patients. Okay, that's your typical standard shadowing, right? Another one. While shadowing a doctor, or the revised version, I noticed patients' anxiety visibly lessened when he took the time to explain the diagnosis in simple terms. Inspired by this approach, I began talking to patients in the waiting room, offering reassurance when they express fear or uncertainty. This experience taught me that empathy is not just about listening. It's about active engagement to make patients feel safer, understood, seen, valued, respected. You don't have to use all of those words at the end, but to give you a sense, right? So here we're kind of a snippet of a student, yes, shadowing and seeing all the stuff that the physician is doing, but also kind of taking it upon themselves to learn a lesson from that shadowing and apply it in a very small way, but still impactful. I love this for activities. I would not prioritize shadowing personally in your personal statement because to me, for the most part, it's a little too passive, but I love that type of paragraph in your activities because it's so different than your typical kind of, this is what I did. So another critical trait is cultural awareness, and it's essential in medicine today, right? You'll be working with patients from diverse backgrounds, but again, the key is showing your awareness through your experiences and your reflections, not just saying it. So maybe you volunteered at a community health clinic where many patients were from a different background than yours. Don't just describe the setting. That could be your first draft, but reflect on what you learned within these experiences. So kind of particularize, humanize the moment. Don't just paint it with like one blanket brush, right? I volunteered at and served a low-income, predominantly Hispanic population could change to something like working at a clinic that served a predominantly Hispanic population opened my eyes to the importance of culturally sensitive care. Okay, but how? And then I noticed that many patients hesitated to ask questions due to language barriers and fear of judgment. I worked with a bilingual staff member to ensure patients understood their treatment plans, and this experience deepened my commitment to breaking down barriers and narrowing inequalities or gaps in healthcare access for underserved communities. I like this. I would want a patient story or an example to really particularize the moment. So this is draft 2. I think it needs maybe 1 or 2 before it really kind of finalizes and fine tunes the kind of messaging, right? So a specific anecdote really kind of would show specific challenges, humanizes the moment, and it allows the student to show them in action in a very specific way. Are you ready to level up your writing and messaging? If you are interested in learning how I work with students, complete our application. It's in the description below, and grab your spot on our calendar and we can figure out if we're a good fit. I work with students from personal statement to interview prep and really kind of help with partnering to really curate your application every step of the way so you maximize your chances. So the truth is that even if you can't add experiences, nothing is set in stone because it is how you reflect on your experiences, it is how you reflect and choose the content that really makes the biggest difference sometimes. Focus on why each experience was meaningful to you. This is how you brainstorm these, how it helped you grow, what it taught you about the future of medicine, about your future within medicine. Even if your experiences seem standard, the way you reflect on them, the way you choose when to kind of go deep, when to particularize one specific example, really makes that big difference. If you worked as a medical scribe, instead of just listing your tasks, dig deeper into what you observed and what you learned. So this is like a before. As a scribe, I took notes for doctors during patient visits. Then another draft was naming the specific doctor and their specialty. But after our kind of conversation and work together as a medical scribe, I had the unique opportunity to observe the delicate balance between science and humanism in medicine. I watched how Dr. So-and-so tailored their communication to each patient, whether breaking down complex diagnoses or simply offering a listening ear. This taught me the importance of treating patients as individuals, not just medical cases, and reaffirmed my desire to pursue medicine to provide compassionate, personalized care. I remember I took this lesson with me when I volunteered at, and then you kind of go into where you took a central role. Remember that your experiences don't have to be flashy. They have to be meaningful to you and showcase kind of how you or where it is in your journey to medicine. A mistake I see sometimes is overemphasizing what you did without really reflecting on how you evolved with each one, right? So I give you one more example on this one. A student who was a tutor once wrote, I tutored students in chemistry. And then they went into the chemistry concepts and kind of like, how they adapted each lesson to each student, and they became a better communicator. And so technically they had what they did, how they made a difference, and their reflection, but it felt still stale, right? So tutoring students in chemistry helped me develop patience and the ability to explain complex topics in simple terms. This goes more kind of deeper. I learned how to adapt my teaching style to meet the needs of each student. Okay, we kept that line, which reinforced my understanding that medicine requires not only scientific expertise, but also the ability to connect with patients on their level. I remember when junior Samantha could not grasp and then they went into specific and they showed their connectivity, their willingness to adapt and get on the student's level to then help them succeed. So this is more activity section, but I wanted to show you why you want to kind of go into particular details. So let's talk about when to get creative with your personal statement and activities. For me, oftentimes students don't tap into the creativity or the storytelling gene enough for kind of eliciting empathy and intellectual curiosity. So here's an example of getting kind of creative in your personal statement. So I use this again for a student who was passionate about running marathons. They said, running marathons has taught me the importance of perseverance, especially during the toughest miles when quitting feels easier. I've learned that mental endurance is as crucial as physical stamina, and I carry this mindset into every challenge I face, whether it's completing a difficult course or providing comfort to a patient going through a tough diagnosis. So this little detail could, like this little image of like not giving up and marathon running, will kind of have an air of refresh, would like kind of refresh your why medicine in a way that adds something. This could be part of your activity section in the hobbies section, right? So what you should think about is not only what you're writing, but then where you're gonna be writing it. Showcase in your medical school application all of these traits: empathy, cultural awareness, intellectual curiosity, community engagement. You may not connect everything in your personal statement, but know that they're reading all of these together, right? All of these pieces of text. So make sure that you're thinking about your application holistically. If you are stuck, if you're not sure that you know where you want to get to with your writing, but you don't know how to get there, I am that bridge. I'm that bridge, right? Together we work on personal statement, activities, secondaries, interview prep. We really kind of focus on a holistic messaging. We curate that for you so that whether or not your activities are set, you can elevate your activities and your experiences and your why medicine in a way that maximizes your chances, elevates your message, and really you become memorable. If that's of interest to you, if you want to learn about how I work with students, great. Complete our application and grab your spot on our calendar and we'll go from there. If you are finding this helpful, please share with your pre-med friends, and I hopefully will see you soon in more videos to come. Alrighty, have a good one. Bye.